All right, in preparing for the this week's podcast, I did put out if anybody had any topics or questions that they wanted answered, and I did get a few of those. The first one comes from Aaron Limser at a Limser1, and he asked, "Will Minnesota take a quarterback in the first 3 rounds, or should they?" Uh, I don't think they will. Maybe in the third round. Uh, I think they paid all that money to Kirk Cousins. He's actually played better as the season has wore on. I think the way he was playing at the beginning of the year, there were a lot of people calling for them to do that. I know a lot of Vikings fans are ready to move on from Kirk Cousins, and I don't know if, to me, Rick Spielman is a guy and Mike Zimmer as their head, Rick Spielman, their general manager, and Mike Zimmer, their head coach. They're not really those gamble type guys. Zimmer loves them to draft cornerbacks. They have a big need for cornerback. They have some needs on defense. He's a defensive minded guy. And like I said, they paid all that money for Kirk Cousins, so I don't necessarily see it, especially the first 2 rounds. It wouldn't have shocked me in the third round if a guy with a whole lot of upside is available. And this quarterbacks class has got some guys with upside. Obviously Joe Burrow and Tua and Justin Herbert are going to be first-round picks. Jordan Love could be a first-round pick. He could also be a second-round pick. Jacob Eason's a guy. I think he's either a second-round pick or he goes back. Jalen Hurts is probably a second-round pick. So you're looking at guys like, Nate Stanley and Cole McDonald if he declares, Steven Montez. None of those guys really scream, top 3-round picks. And so I think you're going to see these elite guys go off in the first round, and maybe that bumps Jordan Love into the first round. I'll be kind of curious to see if Jake Fromm comes out and where he goes. I think Jalen Hurts is probably a second-round quarterback, potentially first, And so I think a lot of those second-tier guys behind those, maybe third-tier guys, Hurts and Love are probably in that second tier. I think they're going to go on day 3, and so maybe Minnesota, I think they'd be wise to maybe take a flyer on a guy like a Steven Montez, a guy that's, had an up and down career at Colorado, but he but he does possess, some traits, and maybe he could develop into a guy. But this quarterback class is basically, I think, very top heavy. Bryce Perkins from Virginia is a guy that I really like. So maybe you're able to draft him in that day 3 range and develop him. Nate Stanley's a guy that from Iowa has shown some ability. But like I said, I think those are day 3 type of guys. So I don't think the Vikings will be taking a quarterback. They probably should. But here, like I said, I don't think there's anybody on day 2 or 3 that's worth it. And even, Jordan Love in the first round might not be a bad choice, but, is he going to be playing, in this first year or two? Probably not. So I think they'd probably be better off just building up this team and maybe looking down the road, maybe another year.